Hey guys, today we're back with Chapter 4 of The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. If we recall from the last chapter, Philby was about to begin telling his story about what happened when he time traveled to the future. Chapter 4. Landing in the year 802,701. Most of the listeners were in the shadow, for the candles in the smoking room had not been lit. The small lamp shone on only the speaker's earnest face, on the writer's puzzled face, and on the lower legs of the portly editor. As the time traveler began talking, the men glanced at each other every now and then. After a while, though, they stopped doing that and looked only at the time traveler's face. This, then, is his story. In these, his very own words. I felt like a man about to commit suicide. As I got ready to test my machine, it was 10 o'clock this very morning, right down the hall in my lab. I gave the machine one last tap, tried all the screws again, and put one more drop of oil on the quartz rod. Then I seated myself in the saddle. Steady, I told myself. This is it. I took the starting lever in one hand and the stopping lever in the other. Then I pulled over the first and almost immediately the second. I felt myself trembling. And then came that feeling of falling. Falling you get in a nightmare. That was all. How long it lasted? I didn't know. What is this? I exclaimed to myself, coming awake. Everything in the lab looked exactly the same as before. Hasn't anything happened? It was then that I started to notice the clock. Just a moment or so, it stood a minute or so past 10. Now it was nearly 10:30? It's a success, I told myself. The machine has moved me through the fourth dimension, time. I took a deep breath, set my teeth, and this time gripped the starting level with both hands. The lab got hazy and went dark. I pulled the lever to its extreme position. Night came in another moment. Morning, the lab grew fainter and hazier. The next night came in very black. Then day again, night again, day again, faster and faster each time. I had the sensation of helpless and confused headlong movement as the lab seemed to drop away from me. I figured the lab eventually had fallen apart, along with my house, and now I was in the open air, in the spot where my house used to be. Night continued to follow day, like the quick of a flapping black wing. Then I saw the sun, hopping swiftly across the line, leaping every minute. How fast am I traveling, I thought? And every minute is marking a day. The twinkling succession of darkness and light was very painful to my eyes. I saw the moon spinning through its quarters, from new moon to full moon, and I had a faint glimpse of the circling stars. It's amazing that I haven't moved at all through space, I kept telling myself. Actually, I was still on the hillside on which my house now stands. It was time traveling that turned night and day into continuous grayness and made the jerking sun a streak of fire and the moon a faint wavy band. I saw the trees growing and changing like puffs of smoke, greening, browning, spreading, shivering, and passing away. I saw buildings rise up, faint and fair, and then pass like dreams. The hands of my speedometer went even faster. The sun went up and down with such fantastic speed that I knew was traveling at over a year a minute. 1980, 2080, 10,080, 50,080. At first, I hardly thought of stopping. Then all kinds of thoughts went through my head. 100,080, 200,080, 500,080. I wonder what happened to the human race. What marvelous new advances and our simple civilization will find. Next, I began to worry that something terrible will happen when I landed. What if a new building or other objects now stand in my spot on my lab that my lab used to occupy? Mightn't there be a collision that could blow both me and my machine into the great unknown? Finally, I had enough of the wondering, and of the worrying, and of the falling feeling. In a mood of nervous impatience, I hit the stop lever hard. The date dial at 802,701 AD. as the time machine went stumbling over and over on its side to a loud sound of thunder. I was flung out into the air. I think I was stunned for a moment. I found myself sprawled on a grassy lawn in front of an overturned craft. Hail was coming down around me, and it drove the ground like smoke. Soon, I was completely soaked. All I could see through the hazy downpours were clusters of purple rhododendron bushes and a huge white marble figure. That's a pretty tall statue, I thought to myself. Judging by the birch tree next to it, the tree reaches only up to the statue's shoulder. The statue looked like a sphinx, with hovering wings. Its sightless eyes seemed to be watching me. There was a faint shadow of a smile on its lips. The pedestal on which it stood was made of bronze, and it had turned green with age. New worries hit my mind. How has man developed? How has he become cruel and insensitive? What if I seem to be like some old world savage? What if they think of me as an animal, a foul creature, to be killed? As the hail cleared and the blue summer sky appeared, I began to see other vast shapes. Huge buildings with tall columns. Panic came over me. I've got to straighten you out. Get out of here, I hissed to my machine, grappling fiercely with it. Wrist and knee finally got it upright again, but it struck me in the chin hard in the process and left a deep cut. I was about to mount and take off when my courage came back. I looked around more curiously and less fearfully at this world of the future. High on a wall of the nearest building was a round opening. Inside the opening, several figures. Dressed in rich, soft robes, were watching me. Then I heard voices coming from another direction and saw some running toward me from the bushes of the white sphinx. One of these men took a pathway leading straight to the little lawn on which I stood with my machine. He was only about 4 feet tall and was dressed in a purple tunic and leather sandals. His soft blonde hair curled around his face. He struck me as being beautiful and graceful, but delicate. His flushed face made me think of illness rather than of health. This creature is no threat to me, I said, my confidence now returning. The young man came right up to me without fear and laughed into my eyes. Then he turned and spoke in a very strange but sweet-sounding language. To the two who were following me, they too laughed. I let them come closer and touch my hand. Then they ran their little pink hands over me, over my back and shoulders. They seemed to want to make sure that the giant they faced was real. But when they began to touch the time machine, I made a warning gesture. I said, off limits. That's my return ticket from your playland. That reminded me of a danger I'd forgotten all about. The time machine must not be operated while I was away from it. Better not take my chances, I told myself. I reached over the bars of the machine and unscrewed the little levers that would get it started. These I put safely in my pocket. That's the end of chapter 4. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment on what you think is going to happen. Will the kids tamper with the time machine or not? Will he be stuck in the future or not? Leave a comment and like. That's all for this week. Bye!